What's good? What's good? It's Rent and Raving here. Today is August 2nd, 2019. I'm actually riding on the way to work. Let's see here. What I'll talk about. Well, today I actually watched First Take for the first time in months. Since the spring, actually. And I caught that Carmelo-Anthony interview with Stephen A. Smith. At least most of it. I didn't finish it yet, but I caught the gist of the meat of what they were talking about his unceremonious exit from Houston from last year. He played only 10 games and he was cut, and then no one else got him, picked him up off waivers. Watching Carmelo-Anthony on there, like, it's definitely a fall from grace, yes, but seems very humbled. Seems very, I don't know. Seems like I think he gets it. Like like everybody else, many people have been critical of Carmelo-Anthony. Not because he can't play basketball. I mean, first off, he's a Hall of Famer. In fact, I go so far as to say he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. And don't at me on Twitter at EasyChristian7 if you don't agree. Because it is true. He's one of the greatest scorers in the history of the game. I would say probably in the last 30 years, he's definitely in the top 5 greatest pure scorers. You know, that's a list that includes Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. I would say Dominique Wilkins on that list. And I think Carmelo-Anthony, too, as a pure scorer. Probably one of the best mid-range shooters also I've ever seen. But the knock on Carmelo for years has been the fact that he is a me guy, and he, rather than go to teams or go to situations where he can, you know, do less in terms of having more help, taking a little bit of a back seat in an effort to win championships, he decided to, you know, in many cases, hamper his teams with big contracts, and his teams didn't do anything. I mean, didn't really make any progress. The farthest he went in the playoffs in his career was 2009 when the then Denver Nuggets, when he was with the Denver Nuggets back in 2009 with Chauncey Billups and those guys. I think J.R. Smith was on that team also too. When they went to the West Conference Finals. And by the way, a series against the Lakers when they lost, but that was really close. That was a series that could have won. But they didn't win, obviously. But it's one of those things where you look back and I don't know. It's sad to see where things are at. And furthermore, he's not on a team right now. I think he still play. I've seen some clips of him in the gym. He looks in shape. And I think he can still benefit. I do believe that if the Carmelo we saw on TV today is, you know, truly, if he's really, you know, humbled and ready to do what's necessary to win on a franchise, especially on a team that's actually in position to win a title, or, you know, because that's about, like, as I said, going to next year, one of the most intriguing things with the year is that there's going to be at least 8 to 10 teams, I believe, that can win a championship, or believe they can win a championship next year, because how wide open the season is, at least on paper. You know, you put Carmelo on the Lakers, you put Carmelo, I don't know, on any team that just needs to score off the bench, a six-man. You know, the six-man role, again, I said this for a couple of years with Carmelo, and he never embraced it. That role right now, at this time in his career, is actually perfect for him. Because a six-man, all they got to do is come off the bench, instant offense, score. You know, you've seen Jamal Crawford and Williams. That's what they do. You mean somebody Carmelo-Anthony can I step into the six-man role right now on a team like the Lakers? You know, take a vet minimum and just score points. Average, 14 a game? You know, think he can do that now on the fly? He can still score the basket. You know? And that way, he's not relegated to being the core piece or being a guy that you have to depend on playing on both sides of the floor. Carmelo-Anthony could, you know, he can still score. I mean, it's just sad that it's taken him this long to, at the very least, now acknowledge that maybe that's the direction he should have went in recent years. Look at Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade's won 3 titles. He took a back seat the last 2 years in Miami. He didn't have to take a back seat, and he took one anyway for the sake of the team. And granted, they didn't miss the playoffs last year, but you know, it's still the leadership thing. It's still the acknowledgement of doing what's best for your team. And I don't know. Carmelo-Anthony has not been able to, unfortunately, has not embraced that role at any point in his career. And maybe now, we'll see. I mean, he's not in the league right now, so obviously this is an appeal to, I believe, to see if any teams can use a scorer like him or somebody like him on a roster. It's definitely a PR move here from Carmelo-Anthony, I believe. But it's a smart one. You know, he has to he's humbled himself. I think he realizes, and he said himself on the show today, that him getting cut by the Rockets, you know, it really affected his ego. It really affected, you know, just who he thought he was in that moment. You know, so hopefully this, for some reason, can actually maybe helps his case to come back in the league. We'll see. Now, I was talking about the Mets earlier on Twitter, and one of my buddies comes on my podcast, Cliff Connors. He got mad because I posted the Carmelo-Anthony my thoughts on Carmelo-Anthony, and he's like, well, the Mets are now 4 back of the wild card and this and that, and I go, dude, this is my last podcast. I just did my buddy Mark last night. I just put up on the Street podcast today. We discussed that. We did discuss the Mets on the show. We did a whole 10-minute discussion on the second half of the season, and of course my Mets will come up, and they're interesting now in August. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, although the schedule is fairly easy going forward. They start the White Sox. I think they have the Marlins next, if not this weekend, but certainly next week. There's some winnable games in there. They're only 4 back of the wild card. They have no chance to get in the division in the NL East. There's no chance they win the division at all. No chance. But I do think that this is going to be interesting, because one of the things I've been saying all year long with the Mets this year is that there's no real reason why they should have been as bad as they were early in the year. Their roster is really good. They have young players. They haven't had any major injuries to speak of. Years past when they would fall apart, they didn't have certain players, certain key players, in the lineup to be available and hurt them. And I get that, and that's an excuse to have. But this team doesn't have that excuse. And they got bats. You got Pete Alonso, the rookie Pete Alonso, having a phenomenal year. And yet, here we are now, in August 2nd. They are now 2 games behind, 2 games under 500. With games against the series against the Marlins coming up, and I don't know who to play this weekend. I got to check it out. There's a chance here. There's an opportunity. You got all August, all September to make up 4 more games. And Mark made a great point on the podcast last night when we were recording it. He says, you can't say that the Mets are hot. They just defrosted. And I cracked it when I said that. But he has a point there. The Mets were cold all year long, and now they're just defrosted. Now their season just started. So they're making up ground. But I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm going to declare, that playoff team, because, they had to make up so much ground in the last few weeks that you still need teams to fall apart. The teams are ahead of them right now. I think the Cardinals or the Cubs, teams like that who are in the mix, the wild card, who are ahead of them, they need to fall apart still too before you even have a chance of talking about securing a wild card spot. And this is the only way they're going to get in, because they're not going to get ahead of the Braves. The Braves are running away with the NL East. They're still taking, as good as the Mets are playing right now, they are still 10 back in the NL East. So unless you're seeing a collapse, coming up in the next couple of weeks, which I don't expect to happen, and by the way, the Braves bolster themselves on the trade market this week as the trade deadline expired 2 days ago. So they're in position now to make some noise, to continue winning games. So look, I'm excited. I'm glad the Mets are playing much better. They're interesting in August, which is good. I watch. I know. I said on the podcast that I wouldn't watch them the rest of the year because it's uninteresting. But I think now I will. Actually watch a few games now. I know I sound like a wishy-washy fan, but you know what? When I have kids and you have other things going on and your games don't matter, why am I wasting my time watching your games? I would have felt more sorry for myself if this was 5 years, 10 years ago when I didn't have kids and no responsibilities. Well, less responsibilities, rather. or the more time on my hands. But my time's of the essence, man. So good to see Mets back in play. The football started last night, of course, too. The first preseason game of the year. Didn't watch it at all and didn't see any highlights. I'll probably check it out over the weekend. Again, I don't get too excited about preseason football because it's just that it's preseason football. It's fake football. Doesn't matter. But it's I don't know. We'll see what happens moving forward. So, all right, I'm done. That's enough for me today. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.